Today on Ballistic Barbecue, I'm going to be grilling up Brazilian style pork spare ribs on an Argentine grill. Let's get going. Today's video is another installment for Exmark's Backyard Life series. If you're into anything living outdoors, whether it's hardscape, landscape, outdoor cooking, hunting, fishing, you owe it to yourself to check out the link that I'll have down below. It's a fabulous site. Now let's start cooking. We're going to kick this off with a really simple, very, very good marinade. And I will have all the ingredients, all the instructions in the description box below. Let's get going. Apple cider vinegar, lime juice, Worcestershire sauce, crushed garlic, fresh ginger, lime zest, Dijon mustard, black pepper, cumin, ground oregano, white onion, pop it in the food processor, and there we go. I'm going to set this aside and show you how we're going to prep the ribs. So I'm going to be cooking 3 racks of spare ribs today, and I'm going to show you just very quickly what I do to prepare these for the marinade and ultimately the grill. These 2 out of the way here. Now the back of these ribs, you'll see a thin membrane. Now there's an ongoing conversation as to whether or not you need to remove this membrane or not. I'm in the corner where I think it should be removed, and I have 3 reasons that I like to remove them. First is you'll get smoke penetration through both sides of the ribs if you remove it. This is going to be a barrier to prevent smoke from penetrating. Second is seasoning. For these ribs, I'm going to marinate them, but a lot of times I'll add dry rub. I like to add seasoning to both sides of the ribs. Again, it's like plastic. It's going to prevent seasonings, marinades from penetrating this side of the rib. Third is, for me, I like the mouthfeel biting into a rib without that kind of crunch or that kind of plasticky crunch. Some people like that, and if you do, that's fine. Do what you like to do, what you like. I'm going to do what I like right now. We're going to remove this membrane. Removing the membrane is very easy. You need a butter knife, and there are a couple ways. You can stick the knife underneath the membrane, kind of twist it, loosen it up, get a finger in there, and then pull it off. I've kind of shied away from that just simply because there is actually 2 membranes here. One, the top is the one you want to pull, remove. The other is more of a open fibers, and they kind of hold the bones in place, so you don't want to risk pulling that off. So what I do is I use a butter knife, and there's a very slight serration there, and I just sort of scuff this to where it loosens it up. You can see it's loosened up right now. And if I wanted to, I could stick my knife in there, but I'm just going to use my fingers. Just loosen it up a tad. Got a nice kind of a tag end hanging here, little piece of paper towel, and then we'll see what happens here. Sometimes they cooperate with you and come off in one nice pull. This is looking pretty good. Yeah, that's good. That's as easy as it is. Now there's a bone on the end of the rack here, as you can see, and this has been saw cut, so it's kind of sharp on the edges here. Also, there's that secondary membrane I was talking about. It's not there. This is most likely going to fall off on its own, so I'm going to just give it a little help, remove it. Now other than that, I'm going to just remove these kind of ragged ends, these things. They're not benefiting us at all in the cook. Other than that, I mean, this is actually looking fairly decent. Little piece of the membrane that didn't come off. So we'll finish that off. If you have any big, globs of fat, you can remove those. This is, again, looking pretty clean here. Again, these can go. Other than that, it's just kind of squaring off the ribs. So for me, cooking in the backyard, this is looking pretty good. I'm happy with this. I'm just gonna square this off a little bit more. And there you go. I'm going to repeat this on the other 2 racks, and then we'll get them in the marinade. So my go-to when it comes to marinating is a good 2-gallon zip-top bag, and I have 2 racks in here, and then that 3rd rack in here. I like these because I can fit these in my fridge easily. I don't have to worry about a big giant tray taking up a whole shelf. The other reason, it's probably a more important reason, is you can just kind of massage that marinade into the meat. Flip them around, kind of rearrange the meat in the bag just to make sure that we're getting a good, thorough marinade. So these are going to go in my fridge. I suggest that you do this at the very minimum 2 hours. I like to go overnight. We're going overnight. I will see you guys tomorrow out at the grill. We're gonna cook these bad boys up. It's gonna be good. So for this cook, I'm using my Argentine grill. And I think this is probably the closest thing I have to something like they would be cooking on in Brazil. So this grill has what they call a brasero, which is basically like a big kind of a rack in the back that's holding logs. Now, I am burning what I have on hand right now, which is kind of a menagerie of woods. I mean, I have hickory, some almond, and I think even maybe a little peach in here. But again, I'm just looking for coals. It's generating coals as it burns. I started out with some lump charcoal underneath to light up the logs. Now, in order to cook this recipe, you do not need a grill like this. You can do this on a kettle grill, on a pellet cooker, on a gas grill, whatever. Just be mindful of your temps. If I was doing this on a kettle, I would do it on indirect heat with the lid on, rolling it about 250 or whatever, then finish it off over direct heat. And I would do the same thing on a pellet cooker, just sort of do almost like a traditional barbecue kind of cook. I'm going to end up with some nice tender ribs, but it's going to have more of a grilled flavor. It's not going to be that traditional like American barbecue. It's going to be good. So what I'm going to do now is just rake some of these coals underneath my cooking grate. I took these out of the bag, gave them a good shake, but I didn't, rinse them off or anything. Just wanted to get all the excess moisture off the ribs, the excess marinade. Now, of course, on this grill, the side towards the flame, I'm going to be kind of rotating the ribs because that is going to be, a hot spot. Now at this point, to control my temps, I'll use this to either push the charcoal away from underneath the ribs or pull more charcoal underneath if I want a hotter heat, as well as lowering or raising my cooking grate. I don't use a temperature gauge or a thermometer when I'm doing this type of cooking. It's more intuitive, I guess, but I'm most likely going to be cooking in probably the mid 200 range, and I'm going to be flipping the ribs a lot. Since it's not enclosed, it is open air, I want to make sure that I'm getting heat on all sides of the ribs, if that makes sense, but I don't want to focus it too much. So I'm going to be doing a lot of flipping just to make sure I get a nice even cook. Once I reach the tenderness that I'm looking for, then we're going to move on to a glaze, a nice, very simple kind of a honey glaze, and then finishing them off, by tightening up that glaze. So if you guys could smell this, you'd be in heaven. I mean, all those herbs and everything, seasonings that are in that marinade are wafting right now, mixing in with this nice kind of a natural smoke flavor or smell. It's gonna be good. I'll keep you guys posted. All right, we're about an hour into the cook. They're looking good. I've been spritzing them with water on the flip, just again to keep it moist, but it smells really good, and again, it's looking really good. What I'm going to do now is just show you what I'm going to be glazing these ribs with. Easy stuff. I have here it's about a cup of honey or so. This is some New Mexico chili powder, and if you want a little heat, then add it. If not, then don't. Just doing a couple pinches. I'm not really measuring any of this stuff. This has got some kick, but it's not like as hot as, you know, a cayenne. Some ground coriander. Again, I'm just going to give a couple little pinches here. It's just going to add something else for people to think about when they're wondering, what is this? And then a couple pinches of, this is a coarse ground kosher salt. Mix this up. There you go, easy stuff. I'm probably going to take this into the house and just zap it in the microwave for, I don't know, 30 seconds or so to heat the honey up and to help the salt melt. And again, we've still got a ways to go, but this is what I'm going to be brushing those ribs with when we finish them off. It's good. It's really good. Okay, we are about 3 hours, 45 minutes into this cook, and I just wanted to give you guys a progress report. This is the level I've been running this rack pretty much the entire cook. And as you can see, I've oriented the ribs now to where they're this way instead of this way. I'm going for overall even cooking here. So as you can see, we've got good color here. I'm starting to get pulled back on the bones. And again, on each flip, I've been hitting with some water. So I'm just going to continue monitoring. I mean, they're getting there, definitely getting there. I'm guessing another 45 minutes to an hour, and then they'll be ready to glaze and hopefully eat really soon. Smells really good. All right, it's been an hour since I saw you last. These ribs are definitely getting tender and they're ready to baste. On this rack, there was actually a couple ribs that I had contemplated removing during the trim because they were just sort of shining through on the bottom, and they're breaking loose pretty good, so no big deal. Still good. This is not a competition. This is cooking to eat. So I'm just going to hit it with that honey mixture on the bottom, just a really quick glaze on the bottom here. Yeah, see, the bone already came loose. C'est la vie. These are looking great though. I'm digging on this finish I'm getting here. I'm going to hit the top of these ribs with just a little fresh black ground pepper here. Now for that last hour, I actually lowered the grate a little bit. The coals down below were getting a little thin. I didn't really want to add a bunch more wood because I'm nearing the end of this cook. So I just brought the grate down to get it a little closer to the heat. But since I have all that sugar on there now with the honey, I'm going to raise it back up. Just again, all we want to do is set this glaze, tighten it up a little bit. And I'll just put my hand under here, and I can feel that heat. It's definitely hot enough to set the glaze safely without burning it. So that's what I'm looking for. Okay, it's been about 20 minutes since I last saw you guys. These ribs are done. This glaze is set. And I know when you look at a grill like this, you're thinking, you know, all the heat's coming from below, but it's wafting over the top. I mean, where I'm standing now, I can feel this heat and the smoke and everything just wafting over these ribs. It smells amazing. So what I'm going to do now is pull the ribs off the pit, let them rest, slice them up, and give you guys a try. Okay, here they are rested up and ready to try out. So again, even though I was cooking this on an open grill, like an open fire, I still embraced that low and slow mentality. So I kept the ribs up. I didn't have a whole lot of heat going on underneath. I mean, I was probably cooking in the mid to low 200-degree Fahrenheit range, and I ended up with very, very tender ribs. Let's try them out. And there they are. As you can see, nice and juicy. You're not going to get that smoke ring like you will on a smoker, but there's still a lot of smoke smell coming off this. Let's give it a try. Oh. So the flavor of this is definitely more grilled than smoked. I mean, you get that, that nice finish on the outside that screams grilled, but it is tender as all get out. It's hot outside. Kids are playing next door in the pool. That's cooking outdoors. Anyway, guys, thanks for stopping by. Very happy with this recipe. Again, I'll have the ingredients and the instructions posted down below. Make sure you click on that Backyard Life link. I'll see you on the next video. Cheers. Cheers.